G'day guys, another video. I'm pumping it out. I'm pumping the player report cards out. I'll get another one of those out over the next day or so. And there's lots happening at our football club. We're always in the bloody news, aren't we? Which is okay. I mean, we're a big club, you know, and yeah, I mean the news of the Stocker and Will Hayes delistings, and now the reports that Will Setterfield will be put on the trade table. He's been asked to explore his options, if that is true. I mean, they're the media reports that are out at the moment. And then the issues related to Paddy Dow as well. There's another year run on his contract. He sort of apparently said that he would like to remain at the club and fight it out, but it doesn't seem like that is sustainable. Considering the amount of opportunities he got this year. And then we hear that the oldest player on our list, a guy that didn't play any football in 2022, played 2 VFL games and did his hamstring on return. Ed Curnow, who's not the most polished footballer going around, has just signed a 1-year deal at the football club to remain. Look, I can understand, I suppose, the ears pricking from fans and, a sense of frustration or a sense of what the hell's going on here. Because it does seem on the surface, it does seem a little bit bizarre, but I'm going to put it on the table right here, right now. I actually agree. I agree 100% with Ed remaining at the football club. I'll get to that shortly. But before I get to that, I'd just like to say Michael Voss, in conjunction now with Nick Austin, our list manager. Voss, I always said that Voss would probably need 12 months to really, really run his eye over this group. He arrived at the club this time last year and, he couldn't just come in and make wholesale changes. And when SBS went out, there was a couple of other players that were delisted, but, he just couldn't come in and just make massive changes. I mean, he would have wanted to have a year to have a look at this list and have a look at this group. And he's the coach of the football club, and he's obviously seen things in certain players which he doesn't think is going to take us forward to the next level. Let's sort of put it on the table right here, right now. I mean, he's probably under the pump as much as anyone. I mean, it was a failed campaign this year. It was a failed campaign. We didn't play finals football. We were 8-2. We were sitting pretty, and we fell away. So he is now under a little bit of pressure, and he has to make, with Nick Austin, they have to make decisions to push this club forward, to be more competitive, to be more ruthless, to get the right mix. And if these guys he sees are not the right mix, then I don't have a problem with it as such. My only frustration is, and these players weren't brought to the club by Nick Austin or brought to the club by Michael Voss. Setterfield, Dow, Stocker, SBS last year. They're all under the umbrella of Stephen Silvani, and this is not a knock on Sauce. But the frustrating thing is that this group of players, not just them, they were the ones that were supposed to. Not all of them were going to make it, but if you look at that group, Setterfield, Dow, Stocker, SBS, there's a chunk of players that are all high draft picks, huge investment, a hell of a lot of time put into them over, at the football club. That was going to be a chunk of our team moving forward, to push us forward. That's what you would have thought anyway. Now they're all just gone, or going. It leaves just a fraction of a sour taste in your mouth. It does. It does a little bit. you live and die by the decisions you make as a football club. And if they don't see that group of players as being good enough AFL footballers, then so be it. It's not a popularity contest. Just because you might be popular at the football club doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best fit. As far as Ed goes, with the apparent 1-year deal with Ed Curnow, on the back of not playing one game this year, a couple of VFL games and, a hamstring injury just to ruin his year in the end, and he was the runner on the weekend for the VFL in Brisbane. It's an interesting one, but I like it. I like it a lot. Before this year, Ed, and he's not a polished performer. He's not a great AFL footballer by any stretch of the imagination. But what he does add to this club, I think, in regards to real strong depth, and I assume his body will be right next year. I mean, he's only 32 years of age, and we have a void of that age group. And I've mentioned this 100 times this year. We have a void of that really important age group between 28 and 32. Okay, which that experience is invaluable. Now, he's played 204 games across 11 seasons. He averages 19 games a season. Now, that's durability at its best. Now, before this year, one was a medial ligament. The second one was a hamstring injury. Okay, in the past, Ed has been bloody durable. Now, I think his body, I don't know. I'm not involved in the fitness department, but I assume if they're going to sign him, that his body will be ready by next season. His only huge injury pre this year, was that nasty throat injury he had back in 2017. And before he even arrived to the club, he had a really badly broken leg. But, he's racked up a lot of footy. And let's not get too worried about age and 32 years of age. I'll take it, the fact that is Ed necessarily in our best 22? Probably not. Okay, but if you look at Geelong, okay, and I remember doing this preview of our game against Geelong, and I just knew they would get us just because of their experience. And you look at that finals game on the weekend against the Pies. I thought Geelong played really poorly. But what got them over the line in the end was just their experience. It was just their experience. Now, they've got 9 players, 32 or over, okay? Tui, Stanley, Smith, Selwood, Hawkins, Rowan, Duncan, Dangerfield, Blixabs. Now, I don't know whether all those are going to remain at the club next year for the Cats, but that is a large chunk of players who are 32 years of age. And you can't tell me any one of those, okay, maybe slightly their best football is past them, but they add something to that group. They add something to that team. They add something to the culture of that football club. And I know Ed hasn't had much success over his period of time at Carlton, okay, but that is not necessarily, a reflection on him as a leader, a reflection on him in regards to his work ethic, a reflection on him in regards to, I suppose, his experience and leadership moving forward. Okay, so I just think he's going to be a valuable depth player moving forward, and I'm happy that he's signed for 1 year. I think if I look at Ed's role and what he will offer us moving forward, there's no doubt this year, if he had been fit, he was never getting into that best 22 at the start of the year when we're up and going. Okay, when all those mids were firing. But as soon as the injuries come into that midfield, as the year progressed, and we were missing 2 or 3 at a time. Even in round 23 against the Pies. I mean, think of that. Round 23 against the Pies, we didn't have Walsh, we didn't have Hewitt, and we didn't have Kennedy. I mean, think about that for 1 minute. There's no doubt to me that Ed would have played if he was fit. in round 23 against Collingwood. There's no doubt about that. Um, I just still think that he's got something to offer, whether it is depth through the midfield, whether it is in fact a different role in our front half. I I remember when Bolton started playing the likes of Dow, you know, through the midfield and was getting time into SBS, and it sort of pushed Ed um, into that forward role, and it didn't appear to work. And then, he was then Teague came in, and he just had a massive end to 2019, um, where he just had this ability to rack up the pill, and he could do a job. He could do a job, and really stick at his job as well. 6 times he had 30 plus possessions at the back end of 2019 in those final 10 games under Teague. And then the following year, he went back to a different type of role. And then, he played 22 games last year, 22 games, in an underperforming team. But there was something about his last performance, his last senior game. And I know we got beaten by the Giants, but 25 disposals and 4 goals in our line. And it wasn't the first time that he hadn't kicked. I mean, he kicked a bag of 4 in a game against Sydney. I thought about that, and I keep thinking about that game. I mean, is he in fact possibly a better option than a Matt Owies? Do we need a little bit more experience? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, could you have a situation where you have Ed, Durden, Motlop, Fisher pushing Owies out? I'm not quite sure. They seem to love Matt Owies. But Ed's got something about him in regards to his tackling and pressure and his experience and his nous. I'm not saying he's got great forward craft, but yeah, I don't mind a decision, guys. What do you think? What do you think about Ed Curnow signing a 1-year deal at the club? Um, yeah, it is an interesting one. I like it, but I am a little bit angry that the fact that we have a chunk of players who were going to be the future of the football club are now basically gone. Um, what do you think about that as well? Speak soon.